Most people think all cheese is basically the same, but when we ran over 30 cheeses through the Nutragrammatron, they didn't all land in the same place.
What about red meat?
What about fruit?
What about fat?
What about carbs?
Run it through the lab. Welcome to the Nutragrammatron Lab, Top 10 Most Nutrient-Dense Cheese episode. Cheese is a fermented food, and in some cases, it can provide probiotic benefits, especially when it isn't heated or cooked. But that's not something we measure here. The Nutragrammatron focuses strictly on nutritional structure. You'll also notice many of these cheeses share the same score. When that happens, we separate them based on nutrient density and how much of each nutrient they actually deliver. So even with the same score, not all structures are equal. Let's get into it. Number 10. This cheese lands in the functional tier, meaning it delivers a solid nutritional structure relative to its energy. It earns that position through very low sodium exposure and stable protein density, even without strong micronutrient drivers. Number 10 is paneer, with a Nutragrammatron score of 70. Number 9. This cheese holds the same Nutragrammatron score, but ranks higher due to increased micronutrient diversity. Calcium, vitamin B12, and phosphorus all contribute, giving it a more complete nutritional structure. Number 9 is provolone, with a Nutragrammatron score of 70. Number 8. Still in the functional tier, this cheese builds further by increasing total micronutrient contribution. Calcium, phosphorus, and B12 are all present in stronger amounts, improving the overall density. Number 8 is queso fresco, with a Nutragrammatron score of 71. Number 7. This cheese maintains the same score, but edges higher through slightly stronger overall nutrient density. Instead of relying on one standout nutrient, it performs consistently across multiple areas. Number 7 is Gouda, with a Nutragrammatron score of 71. Number 6. Again within the functional tier, this cheese separates by pushing total micronutrient contribution a bit further. A little bit more calcium, vitamin B12, and phosphorus, slightly elevated compared to those below it. Number 6 is Munster, with a Nutragrammatron score of 71. Number 5. This next cheese reaches the upper end of this score group. It delivers higher calcium density along with strong B12 and phosphorus, giving it a more dominant nutrient profile. Number 5 is Halloumi, with a Nutragrammatron score of 71. Number 4. Another strong contender in the functional tier. It combines high protein density with strong micronutrient contribution across calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin B12. Even with the same score, the overall structure is slightly more complete. Number 4 is string cheese, with a Nutragrammatron score of 71. Number 3, moving slightly higher within the functional tier, this cheese separates through extremely low sodium, allowing the overall structure to perform more efficiently. Even without standout micronutrient diversity, number 3 is ricotta, with a Nutragrammatron score of 72. Number 2. This cheese sits near the top of the functional tier. It delivers strong protein density, high calcium, and significant vitamin B12, while maintaining relatively low sodium. Number 2 is Baby Swiss, with a Nutragrammatron score of 75. Number 1. This is the highest scoring cheese we tested, sitting at the very top of the functional tier. It combines low sodium, strong protein density, and a highly balanced micronutrient profile. Nothing is overrepresented and nothing is lacking. Number 1 is Swiss cheese, with a Nutragrammatron score of 76. All right, let's go to our honorable mentions here. Anytime I do a top 10, I always do 2 honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1. This cheese falls into the moderate tier, meaning it still provides nutritional value, but with less overall structure compared to the functional group. Honorable mention number 1 is mozzarella, with a Nutragrammatron score of 68. Now, you might be wondering, wait, how did mozzarella score lower than string cheese? Isn't string cheese the same thing as mozzarella? Well, you are correct. String cheese is pretty much mozzarella. The only difference is in the small process that cheese goes through, they actually take out some of the lactose and some of the sodium. So it actually concentrates the nutrient density in a string cheese compared to its regular form. So that is why it's ranked differently and scored differently, because a string cheese, even though it is mozzarella, is actually more concentrated. Think of it kind of similar to juice. Fresh squeezed juice compared to a concentrated juice, you get more vitamins and minerals from the concentration, although it does go through a process. Honorable mention number 2. This cheese also lands in the moderate tier, with decent micronutrient contribution but a less efficient overall structure. Honorable mention number 2 is cheddar, with a Nutragrammatron score of 68. You notice something important? Every cheese in the top 10 landed in the same tier, and that's not a coincidence. Structurally speaking, these foods are very similar. They come from the same base ingredient, they go through similar processes, and they deliver a very similar nutritional profile, high in fat, moderate in protein, and limited, well, basically in everything else. So when you run them through a system that measures nutrient density across multiple axes, they naturally cluster together. And that's exactly what the Nutrigrammatron reveals. Now, some of you may be thinking, if they're so similar and some of them even have the same Nutrigrammatron score, how are they ranked differently? Because the score is measuring something very specific. It's measuring how much usable nutrition you're getting per unit of energy. In other words, how efficient that food is. So when two cheeses have the same score, what that's telling you is they deliver nutrients at roughly the same energy cost. They're equally efficient. But efficiency isn't the whole picture. Ranking goes one level deeper. Once foods land on the same score, we separate them by looking at overall nutrient diversity and distribution, how wide the nutrient coverage is, and how well it's balanced across the system. A simple way to think about this is how you have two different jobs. They can pay the exact same salary, but one gives you better benefits, better hours, more long term upside. Same pay, different value. That's what's happening here. Same score means equal efficiency, but not equal total nutritional profile. So even within the same score, there's still an order. Because once you control for structure, the details decide position. This is what happens when food is measured instead of assumed. And when you apply that consistently, you start to see that most foods aren't as different as people think. But the differences that do exist are very real. This has been the Nutragrammatron Lab. Structured evaluation, transparent criteria, consistent analysis.
Classification complete.